Let me tell you this now though, yeah. I've had a little drink, more primarily, I had a little smoke. And this is one of the realest vibes that I've caught doing this kind of thing, man. So I just want to say blessed much.
More life.
You're getting the realest, you're getting the realest.
Keef magazine. Right, so after those combination moments led to that decisive moment in time that, hey, I want to go to ancient Africa. that's what I'm trying to do. Come on, sign me up. So tell us about that moment.
Yeah, so for me it was, okay, I'm going to do it, but how do I get to doing it is the part of the journey as well. So I either need to find these things, buy these things, grow these things, you know, just learn more about these things. Excuse me, and that's exactly what I've done. And then that led me, or reconnected me to, let me say, and we have to give him the big ups and shout outs, Kalindi EE, who was my Morpheus and many others. If everybody knows the Matrix movie, the film, he was the guy that gave me the red pill. You know, he's like, here we go.
The red pill moment.
Yeah, he put me there like, alright. So for me personally, just to fast track it, it led me to wanting to, okay, so I need to find these things, let me try and grow them. At that time in the UK, mushrooms became illegal. So that's an interesting point to bring to why am I in Jamaica? What's going on in Jamaica? Yeah.
We're getting there.
Yeah, but with that said, in the UK, by the time I became conscious of them and wanted to do it, they were illegal, like for about the last few years, but you could buy grow kits. So just like pre-prepared, you know, mushroom.
Like ready to go.
Yeah, man, you just bring them, open them up.
Like popcorn, just popping.
Yeah, but it weren't popping, bro. It weren't popping. I tell you, it weren't popping. I bought a few of them and they're just not growing. I'm like, what's going on? I wasn't getting no love, and it led me to actually having my first experiences. Well, not mushroom experiences, but just other plants that I'd came into contact with and explored. But when it came to me having that experience, those first experiences, it was actually with a plant that's native to Mexico. It's called Salvia divinorum. That's its full name. So that was the first psychoactive plant, because I couldn't buy mushrooms. The mushroom grow kits weren't working for me. I'm like, but I want, like, I've read this book now, man. You know, I've seen it. And then by that time I'd spoken to a few of my teachers and was like, yo, I'm learning more about these psychedelics. Wayne being one of them, a key player, very important in that. I spoke to like 2-3 of my guys and was like, yo, I'm learning more about the psychedelics. What do you know about it? Like, what's the dealio? What's going in? And out of them all, Wayne plus an elder of mine based in the UK has directed me to Kalindi EE. And it was like, Wayne was like, yo, basically one of my peoples and my martial arts teacher is Kalindi EE. He's based in Detroit. You should connect with him. He knows about this stuff. And then another sister, big her up, Sister Rosanna, based in London. She had a bookstore. That's where I used to get all my knowledge fix from. She was like, when I told her, yeah, I'm reading more about this mushroom stuff and Iboga and all of this stuff, what go on? She's like, check this guy out. And I said, Kalindi? No, Kalindi does all the martial arts. He's known for martial arts and stuff. And I'm like, I'm not trying to learn about martial arts, I'm learning about these mushrooms and tea. She's like, nah, he goes into it, he touches on it. So I eventually got that. So when I got those references and then I had my experience with Salvia, that was it. That was like, nah, this is the
boom.
Yeah. So I called Wayne, called everybody on my team, was like, yo, I tried this thing. Nah, this is the thing. I was like, this is the thing. This is the thing, yo. Like, what, you ain't done the thing? What, you ain't trying to do the thing? I'm telling you, this is the thing. That's how I was. Like, we'll say the Pied Piper. I was like, my first few experiences, I just knew this is the thing. Like, this is the thing. And credit to all of the teachers at that time, but in particular Wayne, who was like, yo, this is not my field. He was like, this is not, you know me, I'm the yoga guy, I'm the Qigong guy, I do all of that shit, I got all the history lined out, but definitely check out Kalindi when it comes to this mushroom stuff, like, and psychedelics, he's the man for that. And then when I got to actually connect with him, it all happened within hours. He ended up connecting with me, and then he was like, I'm based in Detroit in the States, but I'm coming to the UK for this psychedelic conference. I'm like, what? So I'm just new, I'm fresh. I'm like, there's a psychedelic conference? Yeah. I'm like, I'm on it, but I couldn't afford it. It was far away. It wasn't near where I live. It's like going from, one end of the country to the other, or at least midway. But once again, now I know the mushroom magic. It just lined things up, man. I ended up getting there. The money came true, you know, when things lined up, money come true, I ended up getting there. And yeah, the rest is history as far as we got to travel together. I learned from him, studied from him, and that became, well, I was in a position where I used to support him in doing what he was doing. He was doing workshops, talks, lectures and stuff around mushrooms and connecting people to the connections with psychedelics, in particular all psychedelics, primarily mushrooms, but how they connect to the African people, man. And the reality is all people are African people. No matter who you are, you're African people, but some of us are closer to the root, and you know, that's just the reality of it. So for those of us that are closer to the root, like, alright, this is what you were doing, this is, like, he brought another element. So that was what, like, the next trigger, like, and going to this conference was like, bam, this thing, okay, so this is what, basically this is what happened was, I got to the conference, and Kalindi was the only black man speaking at the conference. There was like, let's say 100 people speaking, he was the only black man speaking at the conference. There's like 500 to 1,000 people at this conference, and I was pretty much the only black man in the audience.
Wow.
So it was just like, and I was out of my comfort zone, bro. I keep it real. Where I'm from in the UK, I'm proud, like, although my community is diverse, I just know my people, man. I know my people. Like, I've never been to a place or space where just white people talking about psychedelics. It's new. I was just new to it all. But I stepped out, and what done it for me, the next thing was Kalindi. He smashed it. I was like, what? I'd seen the DVDs, I'd seen the videos and shit, but now seeing my man in the flesh, kicking it. I was like in the audience, watching him on the stage. I'm like, right, this is the man, you know, like, this is the man, like. And the crazy thing for me was like, right, this is like, we need to hear this.
Yeah.
You know, our people need to hear this. So we had already agreed that, when this conference is over, we're coming back to London. I want to introduce you to the community. I already do this. I've been bringing over Wayne Chandler, Ranako Rashidi, Bobby Hemmett, and been involved in other, conferences and talks and workshops in the UK. This is what I do, bro. Now, this experience is like the most profound thing I've ever experienced. So I want to put energy into this, man. Like, I'm on it. I was on it, yeah. And he was like, I'm on it too, man. All right, so let's do this. And that's how it all kind of began, man. And I was working and supporting him in doing his workshops, doing the presentations. I was doing my own little research at the time, sharing little bits and pieces with him and other people. And eventually he was like, yo, you need to speak up, man. It's like your time to do, like, this is your research. Put something together. I'm putting on a conference. You're going to speak. You didn't ask me, you told me. You're going to speak at the conference.
And how long ago was this?
That was actually around 2011 was when I partook, and me and Kalindi hooked up. And then 2013-14, we done the first Detroit conference. So in between that time, I done a little presentation, like it was like a preparation.
So being groomed, basically.
Yeah, and when I done that, so basically, when I done that presentation, Kalindi was big, bro. He was big because he was a different kind of teacher. You know, you get teachers who just want you to be them, but you get teachers who really want you to become. There's a difference. And he just wanted me to become, he wanted his students to become. So we're basically doing these different conferences, talks, I'm doing it for him. He's like, yo, it's time for you to do your thing. And he's like, yeah, it's the Detroit conference. I think I had like an hour and a half. So the thing that I'd been involved before was 20 minutes. I just had to do something for 20 minutes. It was basically just covering it for another woman. She's like, we need more black people. Where's the black people? Like, there's no black people, just Kalindi. Kalindi's doing his thing. He's the only man that I know doing this, talking about this stuff. And then she's like, yo, if we can find other people, then eventually she's like, what about you? Would you? Like, I don't do presentations. I just organize. I'm an organizer. I'm behind the scenes. I'm behind the cameras. She's like, she would appreciate it. And then I actually done it. I agreed to doing it. And it was at the end, Kalindi come up to me and he's like, salute, because you've done good there. More than done good. Like, he gave me my props in it. He's like, yeah, man. And he just gave me some advice. He's like, yo, because when I came after Kalindi, And I was like, right, you put me after the big
Come
man.
back to follow, right?
Yeah, I was like, what? For my first time ever. And I was like, I'm nervous. And I told him that, like, I can't believe you put me in this situation. And at the end, he was like, yo, like, you killed it, man. He's like, never tell the people them that you felt the way you felt, because we would have never have known. He's like, you done good, man. And like, just keep doing it. Like, and to get that from my OG, was like, yeah, man. And then he was like, come Detroit, we're going to do something in Detroit. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do it one time or one time only. And I went to Detroit, done it one time, and it didn't become one time only, innit? And that's kind of just how it just became a lifestyle, after a period of time, man. And that was a lot.
A way of life.
Yeah, man.
Good one. So, fast forward to what's happening with Darren now. What's happening with you in the world of mycology? What's mycology, by the way, for those who don't know?
Mycology is basically the study of mushrooms, what we call mushrooms, or the organism that's commonly called fungus or fungi. So I know all of them words, they're interchangeable and kind of mean different things slightly, but if you just throw them in a bucket, mushrooms, mycology, fungi, mycelium, myco, these are all terms that are thrown around that relate to mushrooms.
Okay. So, for those who don't know, just give us a short explanation into those terms and what those terms do, or what those terms are.
Okay. So I'll tell you like this. It's basically, so most people are familiar with what we call mushrooms when you see the stem and a little cap. That's commonly what you would see in pictures, photographs, in nature. You see the mushroom just coming from the ground, coming out of a tree, coming out of something. When we see that thing there, whatever it is, that is actually the fruit. That's called a fruiting body. That's the mushroom. That mushroom is like the apple on a tree. So you don't know, if you pick an apple or orange off a tree, it's not just the orange there in the air, it's connected to stuff, that connects it to stuff. So when you see that mushroom grow out the ground, grow out of a tree, it's actually connected to something that's known as mycelium. That's where we get the word mycology from. Myco, the MI is connected to mycelium. The mycelium, everybody's seen this thing, especially you, man, in yards and in the Caribbean, you got access to this stuff. Because the mycelium is like the root system of the mushroom. So you see the mushroom growing out of the ground, it's going to be connected to this kind of white, cobwebby, thready looking substance. Right. That's called mycelium. You find that everywhere. As long as you're out in anywhere in nature, if there's a brick, a log, something laying on the ground and you lift it up, you'll start seeing this white furry substance. That's called mycelium. Okay. That's the fungus, that's the organism, that's the mother, that's the tree, that's the roots, that's the whole system that produces the mushroom. So the mushroom is just the reproductive part of the fungus, and that allows the mushroom to reproduce and produce its seeds, which are called spores, that allow the mushroom organism known as mycelium to continue.
Okay.
I say this just to bring a bit of clarity. So when people see mushrooms growing, there's different types of mushrooms. There's different categories and different types of mushrooms. But primarily, the mushrooms that we see in nature, when you see them growing out of a tree and stuff, if you're walking through nature and you see mushrooms growing, those mushrooms are what we call decomposers. So decomposers basically break down organic matter and turn what's known as anything that's ever been real, anything that's ever lived, comes from soil and will go back to soil. And the mushrooms do the job in turning whatever was once alive back into soil. They're decomposers, that's what their job is to do. That's one of the main functions of mushrooms. Okay. The second main function of mushrooms that is really important is that if you're into understanding or just witness nature communicate, crickets, we've got crickets now in the background, they're not just cricketing for no reason, there's a reason for that. Whether it's mating, there's different, they're hunting, they're communicating different things. So there's different ways that nature communicates, and there's different ways that we can understand or understand the language. of communication of nature. And you've got the decomposers, yeah, that break down organic matter, anything that was alive, to turn it back into soil again, to keep nature going. Everything we know, everything, the plants, we're dependent upon plants, innit? We breathe in oxygen, all of that stuff there. We need the plants, the mushrooms, the plants are dependent on the mushrooms doing that job, you know? But then there's another group of mushrooms that their job is to send information to other plants, to other organisms, to distribute nutrients, and other microorganisms use this, I would like to call it a highway, we call it a super highway, that's in the soil as a way to transport information in the soil. So plants can do whatever they gotta do. Yo, I need some nitrogen, man. Yo, I need some phosphorus. The mycelium network is the thing that all that gets carried on.
Right.
Yeah. So, and if you go back further, before all of that, before the plants, before the soil, these aliens, because that's what mushrooms are, aliens, they came from outer space and had to break down the bedrock, the rock that Earth once or still is, to start to create what we now know as soil, and then for plants to evolve. So they came and arrived on meteorites and comets millenniums ago and outdate or predate plants by over 500 million years. Like mushrooms got to colonize and take over the planet and run the planet before plants, and they allowed plants to become, and then we became after that, and we're connected to all of that.
Okay. So the specific one that, let's say, you get you tripping, or that trips you out. Tell us a little bit more about that one.
Alright, so you got your decomposers, you got your mycorrhizal fungi, those are the ones that send information and nutrients, and then you've got what's known as medicinal mushrooms that people just use for medicine. It helps with your immune system, you know, just building up your general health. Then you've got gourmet mushrooms, just the mushrooms that people eat, put on your pizza, mushroom risotto, whatever you eat, those are your gourmet. And then you've also got parasitic mushrooms, mushrooms that don't wait, they're not like decomposers where they wait till the organism is deteriorating and then they get it and then break it down. You've got parasitic mushrooms that take you over when you're healthy. You know, so there's so many different categories, but then you've also got psychedelic mushrooms. And there's different types of psychedelic mushrooms, but we could break them down simply into the most commonly or most spoken about magic mushroom is the psilocybin mushroom. And psilocybin mushroom is, or psilocybin should I say, is the active ingredient inside the mushroom that makes it psychedelic or makes it psychoactive. That chemical is called psilocybin. So you've got these different categories of mushrooms, which leads us to another category that's known as psilocybin. So you've got psilocybin mushrooms, the active ingredient in those magic mushrooms is psilocybin, which makes you trip or journey, as we like to say. So you find that in different mushrooms all around the world. Like here in Jamaica, you've got your own psilocybin mushrooms that grow naturally in Jamaica, that grow. In the UK, we have them where I'm from. In America, in Africa, everybody's got them. Wherever you go, they grow. Ganja don't grow everywhere. Ayahuasca don't grow everywhere. Salvia don't grow everywhere. Mushrooms grow everywhere. They're for everybody. They're everybody's thing. But anyway, these psychedelic mushrooms, without getting too deep or too technical with it, currently they're being researched. Let me look up just so to bring people up to speed. Whatever you've heard about these magic mushrooms, currently today, research is being done with these magic mushrooms that suggests that they can help with anxiety, depression, PTSD, trauma, addictions, you name it. A lot of earthly challenges, things that people are challenged by in their day-to-day, you know, that affect communities, affect people's lifestyles. And the medical system, where I'm from, known as the NHS, the National Health Service, they've been pumping millions into these things for years and not necessarily getting the results for people who are alcoholics, people who are suffering from drug addiction, not getting the results whatsoever. And somehow or another recently they've opened up the ability for some universities and other practitioners to do trials with these particular mushrooms and other psychoactives as well, but mushrooms in particular. And what they discovered is that these mushrooms bring more help than you could ever imagine as far as what the medical system who judge our health, because these are the ones who generally judge our health, and although I was taught that their health parameters on a very low level, what they consider health is actually illness, you know. Like the system that we deal with, when you're dealing with the system, what they say is healthy is actually illness. Illness has become a norm for us. That's what Dr. Layla or Africa used to teach. So as far as these magic mushrooms and the role that they play, they're currently being researched as something that can help in the medical system with all of those areas, addictions, depression and so forth. And the trials are suggesting that it's like 100% to like 99 or 96% ratios or percentages, should I say, where these things are benefiting people. So they're working with people who are close to near, who have got cancer, people who just come back from the army, who've seen people getting shut up and all of these things, and seeing, does these things help you? And 96 to like 100% of the people benefit from this thing. This is what they're currently doing in the medical research thing. So me, I'm someone of African heritage, very much into our culture and traditions, and I want to learn about what we do, but how does it connect with all of that? And I've come to find that, we've got our own approach to these medicines, these technologies, these mushrooms ourselves, and there's ways that we deal with it that would be very beneficial to us. And like I said, they actually do grow in Jamaica. They grow here naturally from the soil. They could benefit Jamaican people in the same way that they're benefiting these soldiers, these cancer patients, and all these other folks out there that are doing these trials and benefiting from it. We could benefit. So that interests me and brings me to Jamaica as far as working with people who are on the ground from Jamaican soil, you know, like primarily prepared to talk with and engage with people who are not from the soil but connect with the soil. You know what I'm saying? We come from a source, you know, there's a source soil that we all come from, and we got divided and split up, but just know that it's a good look for us if we work with the soil, the things growing from the soil to help us reconnect, just like the mycelium connects all the plants. If you take the mushroom, it's going to help you connect with all of your people and things. It just works very similar like that. So there's just, there's options for us to explore. Yeah, man, yeah.
Well, knowledge is key, and we just got a lot, you know what I mean? Respect to Darren again, sharing some insights into his journey into mushroom mycology. What is mycology? The network of how mushroom grows and connects the different types of mushroom. You know what I mean? Much love and respect again. Yeah, bro. Ganja people.
Peace.
You know what I mean? Blessings again, enough respect. Check us out, Instagram, Keef Magazine. We have a PayPal, yeah, Keef Magazine. And check it out, we have a link on the Instagram now, the YouTube channel. Ganja paper, influence, very high. Anyway, enough love and respect again. Darren, thanks for all that knowledge.
Yeah, man, anytime, on the rebound.
We're going to be having a part 2 in the future to this listening. Stay tuned. Love respect.